I have to talk myself through it. You know, sometime in life we have to say, all right, girl, let's go. You know, sometimes you got to be your own cheerleader. I got a lot of cheerleaders around me, but sometimes I got to be my own self cheerleader and say, Summer, you can do this. Or I might have to look at some of those degrees on my wall and say, I did that, so I can do this.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spirit Change Podcast. Super excited to be here with you today and have Summer Carter in the room. Summer, thank you so much for being part of the Spirit Change Podcast.
Listen, thank you for having me. I'm so excited, kind of.
Oh my goodness. Well, let me tell you, I am super excited because anytime I get to hang with you, oh my goodness, you're like a breath of fresh air. I learned so much. And so I want the audience to love you just as much as I love you. Summer, what is the one word that you would describe yourself with and why?
So the one word I thought of is actually the word that was given to me when I became a sorority sister of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, and it's gallantry. And yeah, I know that is my line name for AKA, and it's because I am courageous. Mm-hmm. Even when I'm afraid to make some steps, even recent steps that I'm trying to make right now, I have courage when I do it. Mm-hmm. So they gave me that line name. One of my sorority sisters that came to me, Dr. Webb, Quita mm-hmm. Webb, came to me and said they named me Gallantry because I was respectful, but I was courageous in the way I approached them to become a sorority sister. So I think through life, I've been defining that name, that line name that I got way back in 2001. I think I still step in that, and I like that gallantry. I wear that. You might can't see that on my shirt, but it's back there every day.
I love it, gallantry. And you know, when I think about you, when I think about our history, and I just think about just the, you know, gosh, we met almost 15 years plus ago, and just, you know, we walked together in some crazy turbulent seasons, but just the amount of courage that it took. In some cases to get through those seasons, I can definitely see that stamp and that badge of honor on the back of your shirt. I love it, gallantry. So, you know, with the Spirit Change Podcast, we always talk about those moments in our life that are just life-defining moments. We might not have recognized it when we were going through it, but on the other end, it has created something fresh, something new, something bold. And so how would you like to, or what's your spirit change moment that you would like to kick off the conversation with?
So I really had to think about this for some reason. I've had a lot of just spirit changing moments, I think, throughout my life. Even the fact of going to a HBCU, historical Black college, from Phoenix. I mean, I'm from Eloy, Arizona. Let me get it correct. Small spot of Arizona. And that cultural change was really defining moment. But the most recent moment I wanted to think about is when I was invited to become a co-author in a book recently. It's Wisdom of the Silver Sisters. The reason why I feel that was a spirit change moment is I've always doubted myself in writing. Because I'm gonna be honest, Eloy is a very small community. You know, Arizona is known as not having the best education system. So yeah, I have master's degrees. I have 2 master's degrees. I have 4 degrees on my wall, but I always had anxiety. A lot of people don't know this. I had a lot of anxiety going through school when it became to writing, because I didn't feel like I really gained the tools that I needed in order to, my papers was always had red marks all through, even master's degree, red marks. And I'm like, God, dog, you know, and that's always like a little bit of insecurity. I mean, I'm gonna be transparent about it, a little insecurity about writing. So when one of my friends, social work friends, came to me and said, I just feel like, you know, I started this organization, Wrinkles. I've had women talk about their wrinkles, and she said, I think you'll be dynamic in this book. And I gained anxiety at that moment. But again, standing in gallantry, I went forward. I wrote that chapter It's funny, I wrote the chapter in like 30 minutes. It just poured out in me. So I knew it was of God, that it poured out of me when I started to write, because I'm always, my motion, my mantra is to share your story so that other people are blessed by what you've been through. So when I started writing about my wrinkle, because that's the name of my chapter, Wrinkles, I started writing that. It also kind of gave me something back. It let me know, look at you, from that little girl in Eloy who was scared to always get that red mark on her paper. Every college paper that you got red marks on, you're a co-author now.
Mm-hmm.
And it kicked a spark back into me. It gave me another courageous step to move forward, to continue on. And I'm still in my spare change moments right now. But every time I look at that book and know that I'm a co-author now, somebody who was afraid to write, I can do so much if I just dig in, take that step. And even if I fail, at least I took the step, So that is what my spare change moment was, really, when I did that.
Wow. First of all, congratulations. So for everybody, Wisdom of the Silver Sister, you got to get the book, but congratulations on being a co-author. That is super fabulous. And you think about life, and I want to back up just a little bit as you were talking about, just first of all, 4 degrees on your wall, shut the front door, right? But when you think about just, despite what you perceived as your shortcomings or failures, you still push through it. Yeah. And I think that that's important. And maybe we can touch on that just a little bit. Like, how are you able to, even in the face of the anxiety, even in the face of like, I'm not great at this, how are you able to just find that courage and really and push forward and write the book or write that chapter in the book?
Well, I think it really is that I have strong people that I talk to, having that safety of those people that support you, even yourself, we talk sometimes, and just having that motivation from my parents, my husband, and praying, to get me through things. And I had somebody tell me one time, you just got to do it scared.
Yeah.
You just got to do it scared. And that just rings in my head sometime when I do get scared. I just say, okay, I just got to at least do it. But it takes me to take it step by step. I have to talk myself through it. Sometime in life, we have to say, all right, girl, let's go. Sometimes you got to be your own cheerleader. I got a lot of cheerleaders around me, but sometimes I got to be my own self cheerleader and say, Summer, you can do this. Or I might have to look at some of those degrees on my wall and say, I did that, so I can do this, but it's moment by moment too. I sometimes have to just stay in those moments and push myself through each moment of time, because I think sometimes we overwhelm ourselves with trying to say, well, okay, I'm gonna do all of this. And then it becomes too much, and then you never do anything.
Summer, quit writing quit telling my story. Stop. Quit telling my story. I love
it. Listen, it takes a good one to know one,
Right. But you said, so what I heard you say is take it slow, take it step by step, but then also reflect on what you've done in the past, because we have accomplished so much in life. And so many times when we're running this marathon of life, we forget to look back and see how far we've come in this journey. And so all we see is what's in front of us. And I love the fact that you said to also, to just, what I heard you say is just to be present, right? So don't get so overwhelmed. Don't take on so much in the moment that you lose sight of what's most important for you. We have less than 6 months remaining in the year. Will you finish strong? Don't wait today. Take action. Enroll in our Gain Goal Clarity course. You can find it on conquerandcultivate.com. Use the promo code SPARED to receive half off the normal enrollment fee. Now back to our episode. Summer, so when you think about just, and you touched on it a little bit, but when you think about that spirit change moment and overcoming that fear of writing to become this co-author, you said it sparked something in you. So how has that really changed your presence and your impact now and how you show up for others around you?
It's actually given me that motivation to go forward with other things that I'm working on. I'm starting my own nonprofit, and it just let me know that I have a purpose. It
Mhm.
gave me that spark again because I've been doing social work for 20 years. And of course, social work is to give back. That's what we do. We give back, we take care of others. But I wasn't taking care of what I needed. And when I did that, I was like, oh, I need to social work me sometime. I need to cater to me sometime. And when I did that, I was like, hey, Summer, let's go. What you want next? I started empowering me because that's what we do as social work. We empower other people. And I started empowering myself. So then it just gave me that drive and that motivation to move forward in other things that I wanted to do. That's just sparked that fire back in me. And sometimes we need that because our fire go out sometimes. It
Yeah.
starts getting a little dim and
Yeah.
you're just kind of like going through life. You forget about the drive and the goals and the dreams that you have because it seemed like it's so far and it's so hard. I just needed that fire again and just completing that, putting that period on that last sentence in
Mhm.
that chapter. And it just united my fire again.
Mhm.
I'm ready to
So,
go.
yeah, love it. So complete what you started, even with fear. I have this, when I was going through cancer treatments, a lady had given me this doll that said fearless. And I'm often kind of skeptical to say I'm fearless. But what I heard you say is do it even though there is fear, do it despite the fear. And I think that sometimes when people look at other people's lives, or, because all we see are like these little microscopic views of people's lives, we see their success, but we don't necessarily see what they've gone through, the fears that they've overcome to get there. So let's dive in a little bit deeper. What have you had to overcome to get to even where you are right now?
I had to overcome a lot with just, as I spoke before about the anxiety of feeling that I would fail because I didn't have the skills because of where I came from, you know, um, people against me because of who I am, being an African American woman, or at the fact of, oh, she doesn't have her license. I've been a social worker for 20 years, so I always say I'm an old school social worker. So we didn't have to take our license. They didn't talk about it. Then all of a sudden it was like, you have to do your license. And I was like, I'm not taking my license test. I'm not gonna do that. I'm good at what I do. And then people looked at me like, well, then you're not good enough because you don't have your license. And so going through all that in my career and things like that, I was tripping a lot. I felt like I was tripping over stuff sometime because people were judging me because I didn't have my license. I have my license now, but it took some time for me to get there because I was afraid. I was afraid that I wasn't going to succeed. I was afraid that even if I did, that people still weren't going to see me as good as I am. And I love that you said people see you on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and they think your life is just great. And oh, they see me get all these diplomas. They're like, oh, she got all this in place. No, it took a lot of sweat and tears, a lot of rocking the baby and studying at the same time, all that kind of stuff. And that's why I developed Wrinkles, because I wanted people to tell their stories as they really are going through some things. Because we all go through some things, but we can make it at the end. But it's not always easy.
Yeah.
Truly.
That is so true. That's a word in and of itself. We all go through some things. We might not see it, but it is so true because, that I think that judgment or that ability to look into people's lives and only see what we see, we create our own obstacles sometimes, that I'm not good enough, or I'm not as good as she is, or whatever the case might be. And so that thwarts our efforts of moving ourselves forward because of this whole comparison. And I love that quote. They say comparison is the thief of joy. Or did I say that right? Yeah,
Comparison.
comparison is the thief of joy. And
Yeah.
so we have to be mindful of, if God has given us a purpose, or I shouldn't say if, we all have a purpose in this life, in this world. So when God has given us a purpose, then we have to walk boldly towards it, despite the fears, despite what other people are doing. And if we're so focused on what everybody else is doing, then we can't focus on our own journey. And so we have to be cognizant of that. But, again, to your point earlier, taking those slow steps to get to where you want to get to, making that plan in your life to move yourself forward. And when I think about just spirit change in general, it's about knowing, it's about looking back over your life and just saying, I was able to create something great. I was able to create something that I never even thought I would be able to achieve, just because I took that step.
So true. So true. And the thing is too, is that we have to champion ourselves. That's the biggest thing, I think, that is, we're always waiting for somebody else to tell us that we can do it, or somebody else to tell us, oh, good job. Sometimes we just got to do it, tell ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And when, you had said it earlier. So for that person that's listening that might struggle with the ability to prioritize themselves, how would you, or what would you say to them? How would you recommend them to even start prioritizing themselves?
I started this years ago. I used to take myself out first on dates. It used to be a little thing, just a walk in the park with a diary and write just 2 sentences. But you have to love yourself. My mom always told me when I was in the dating world, you have to love me before you have we. And that's with not just with a partner, that's with friends and all that. Because, even with family, you have to love yourself enough so that you can be there for other people. So start loving me so you can be with we.
Yeah.
And if you concentrate on you, and I used to always do that, especially when I started having children, and I noticed I was losing myself, because it's easy to lose yourself when you're starting your business, even like all those kind of things. Or you notice you start losing yourself, I start pulling back on self-care. And I'm like, okay, I gotta love on me so I can take care or be with we. You do that, then you can start concentrating and be your own cheerleader and build up to the place that you don't need so much to push yourself forward, because you got yourself and God to push yourself forward.
Ooh, girl, pass the plate. So love yourself. And the part about loving yourself is that if you spend time alone, then you get to know exactly what it is that you love, what makes you happy, what makes you smile. And then you're not seeking validation from others, or you're not seeking other people to give you something that you can't even give to yourself. And I love the fact that you said that, because so often we see people going through life looking for love, but truly they don't even know what the meaning is, because they haven't sat with themselves long enough to figure out what it is that they want, what it is that they deserve, and dare I even use the B word, boundaries, how to put boundaries in place. Because, regardless whether you're married, whether you're single, whether it's a paternal relationships with your parents, you have to be able to establish boundaries. And that's part of self-care as well.
Ooh, that's a big one. And you know what? I'm gonna be totally transparent about the fact that I had to learn since COVID, I think, and probably a little bit before that, I had to learn the strength of the word no.
Yeah.
I really did. And it's sometimes it's still hard, because as I said, I'm a social worker, I'm a caregiver. That's kind of in me. but I'm learning more and more as I get older, the strength of the word no.
Mhm. Yeah. It's not a bad word. There's nothing wrong with it. And if anything, no is empowering from time to time. It's just it helps you. I think it helps people around you understand that, hey, we're not going to go there.
No.
But so often, and for whatever reason, whether that's childhood or other experiences that has taught us that our voice doesn't matter. When you start reclaiming your voice, one no at a time, then then you're positioning yourself to first of all, that self-care, that self-love that you talked about, and that prioritization. Summer, it has been a pleasure. Oh my goodness, a pleasure. If there is one thing that you would want to leave the audience with today, what would that one thing be?
Self-care. Take care of yourself. Health is wealth. Mental health, physical health, and spiritual health as well. So put yourself first. Love yourself enough to know that you are important enough to take some time for yourself. That's what I would say today.
Thank you so much, Summer, for being on the Spare Change podcast, lady. I had a blast, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
I appreciate you tuning in to this episode of Spare Change. Be sure to stay connected for future episodes. You can follow me on social media or visit my website at angelargarman.com. Talk to you soon.